going to go ahead and move on to the next story. A story I was like, oh man, it's on the conspiracy, it's on the iceberg conspiracy list. So anyways, Meth Immortality was on the iceberg list, and I went and I did some research assuming it was true, like I always do. I'm not going to let my personal biases towards meth, stop me from doing that. I found some interesting things. Most of it's nonsense, but I did find an interesting key to the component. So the first thing is, are there health benefits to methamphetamine use? There are people who claim there are health benefits. Sometimes they're meth users, so that shouldn't shock you too much. Here is a quote. I'm going to try to read this as a meth addict would. We'll see if this works. We have weight loss here. Good for obese people. It can treat ADHD. It has high motivation to achieve skills. That is good for students who are like 4 grades ahead of their grade. You can even go without sleeping for days or even a few weeks. The record holder was a 17-year-old high school guy who went for 11 days without sleeping to complete a science project. With ice, those records can be easily broken. You might even be called a real-life superhuman, but even a superhuman needs to recharge, So to recharge, after a superhuman show of no sleep with no effects, he would oversleep for a day. The average person would sleep for 8 hours and can go for at least 48 hours without sleeping until she needed to sleep. But this superhuman just needs to oversleep for just 4 hours for weeks of no sleep. Wow. You will regenerate even after being negative 30 degrees Celsius temperature with shirt and pants or even nude, like in January 1942 for 500 Nazi German soldiers. Users will become more self-confident and with impressive productivity. Let's just say, if you have 15 criminals with steel rods attacking you alone, even an all-around boss like me would eventually lose to the gang. So ice is just what you need, unless you are stronger than Big Z. One time in my elementary school, 2 of my heaviest friends went crazy and just kept attacking me. They were 90 kilograms in total. One of them tried to push me off the school building, but got back a very hard kick to the stomach. One of my friends got crazy 2 weeks later, knocking out 4 adult men in the process. So it's basically grade 5 me fighting against 9 normal men. Surprisingly, my crazy friend didn't give up after a hard pinch to the neck. If I used crystal meth, I would beat them very easily. There was no winner because the teachers eventually saw it. If it were to continue on, I might win with huge losses. But for arm wrestling, they're very strong. Just see Nazi German soldiers, how they benefited. I think meth should have a new name of Superman pill, even though there are some side effects like excessive aging and stuff like that. We can also name it miracle pills. Drugs aren't so bad at all. The benefits are the same as consequences, at least, or somewhat more. I think you should take it if you want to beat records. Otherwise, no. My hands cramped halfway through doing that. I wish you could see it. I was clutching my fingers and occasionally picking at my face. I hate meth. I've never used it. I've seen people use it. I've never had a friend die from it, but I've had friends throw their lives away for it. It should not be called Superman pills. Doesn't turn you into Superman. You'll think you're Superman. I couldn't find any confirmation of the this is my job now. I hope you guys realize when a guy makes a claim that in January 1942 500 Nazi German soldiers were able to be nude in negative 30 degrees Celsius. I had to research that because that's my job. The ravings of a meth addict now become something I have to look into. I couldn't find anything of it. No, it should not be called Superman pills or the miracle pills. It will help you lose weight because you stop eating and it boosts your metabolism and it can keep you up. That young kid who did the 17-year-old high school kid who went 11 days without sleep, did it without meth. I think I mentioned him on another story. I may have cut it out on our story about Can't Sleep Kill You. I did mention it. It was for a science project. This guy's saying, just do meth, kid. You could have done way better. You would have gotten like 10 A's on your test. 10 A's. There was quite a few comments like this where people are like, oh no, it's really beneficial if you just do it on the weekends or if you just do it in your morning, or nurses put it in their coffee and truck drivers use it and stuff like that. And yes, people do use meth less occasionally than like the meth user. Meth causes things like meth mouth. It causes you to age prematurely. It can cause brain damage over time. It makes you depressed once you stop taking it because your dopamine levels are all messed up. You don't eat. You don't sleep. You'll start to get psychosis from not sleeping. It can cause you to be violent, not necessarily the meth of the psychosis. I will say the main problem with meth is that it makes you incredibly irritating to be around. The one thing I found that you could possibly say that meth can make you immortal is when we look at, because when we look at crystal meth, it's crystals. And there are a lot of people who believe that you can charge a crystal, like quartz or things like that. You can charge these crystals with healing energy and then use them. And you can find countless resources where align your chakras with crystals, heal yourself with crystals, cleanse your house with crystals. Very, very common. It's all about charging the crystal with the positive energy, getting a crystal that can hold. They're like batteries, basically. Crystals in the purest form. When we're getting into the spiritual now, I don't necessarily believe all of this, but I'm going to present it to you as they would. So the crystals you can charge with your own emotional energy. They're basically batteries, and then you can use that. I mean, I have a few crystals around my house. I don't, but I'm not like, oh no, where's my crystal? Like, I think they're nice to look at. I've found cool rocks on the ground and go, this is my lucky rock, and I'll keep it in my pocket for a while. But people, this is the thing. So if you accept that's true, if you accept that a crystalline form can be used to charge energy, why can't you charge crystal meth? Why wouldn't you be able to take... I just heard 100 listeners reaching for their meth bag to hold while they listen to the rest of this episode. If I'm holding my meth and I'm charging it with positive healing energy, I'm making this meth, I'm putting all of my positive and joyful emotions into this meth, into these crystals, and then I put them into my body. I'm breaking them down into the purest form of healing power. What is more personal, what is more intimate than breathing the crystals in? Versus you have a quartz crystal and you set it on your chest, and this is putting healing energy into your third chakra. This is you actually taking the crystals into your bloodstream. Have you ever smelt crystal meth? It's gross. I remember once I came into possession of a very large chunk of crystal meth. It's a long story. I'll tell you the story, because otherwise you're going to think I'm using crystal meth. The cops were looking for somebody. They asked me to do them a favor. Anyways, it smells like every household chemical poured into a ball. It was disgusting. It was so gross. It smelled like a little bit of chlorine and a little bit of formaldehyde. It just smelled toxic. And I remember looking at this and going, why would someone put this in their body? At least marijuana smells natural. You smell marijuana. You may not like the smell, but it smells like something you would smell in the forest. Anyways, you charge those crystals and you breathe them into your body, or you inject them into your body. I got all these meth stories. I knew a guy whose all of his veins collapsed from doing meth, and he was trying to inject meth into his eyeball, and his friends had to stop him. You see, I know these people. These aren't stories I read on the internet. This is why I'm so hardcore on not doing meth, because I've seen otherwise reasonable people try to do horrible stuff. I wasn't there when he tried to put the needle in his eyeball, but the guy told me the story, and his friend was there, and she was like, yeah, we had to stop him, because he was about to inject meth into his eye. He wanted it so bad. I don't know how long this episode's going to run, but the point is that I know I keep telling these horror stories, and I go back to the story, because again, I'm absolutely against this, but I got to report. I don't have to report it, but you charge the meth crystals, and you put them in your body. It was interesting, because as I was researching this, I came across a little nugget. You can even imbue the meth with positive emotions while they're forming, while you're cooking it. I found this little thing here. I'm not going to read this as a crank addict, because I really, that really took a lot out of my hands. The next variety we avoid is that which we term an anger batch. This strange alchemical mixture, whether embedded into the final product by differing neurotoxins employed during the various refining processes, or by vibe level impartation by the very cooks or subsequent handlers themselves for the blessed shards of the gods, or themselves quartz-like crystals, fully capable of retaining imparted energies we know not, is responsible. This makes no sense, because the guy who wrote this is a meth addict, by the way. I'm reading this word for word. Is responsible for the artificial, and in our case, utterly undesired, evocation of unwarranted rage. Sadly, it is a trick of the substance itself to trap the unwary participant is what it should be, to track the unworried participant into remaining oblivious as to the cause of the instantaneous substance-induced anger, a pitfall which has snared all too many who employ the substance for merely profane reasons. Add to this the danger involved in stimulating the so-called reptilian subbrain of the human neurophysiology without sufficient preliminary preparation, not unlike raising the kundalini without adequate preparation, and you can clearly see how this aspect as well can perniciously exacerbate the onslaught of inappropriate rage brought on by a tainted anger batch. Again, hanging out with meth heads is irritating. Reading what they're writing is 10 times worse. So he's saying that if the cook's angry and they're going under a lot of stress, it can affect the crystals being constructed, and the people handling it, if they're also putting all their rage and anger into the batch, it's loaded full of those negative energies. But if if everyone in the meth supply line is positive, you will create good meth. Not in the sense that it's like, oh man, this is the best meth I've ever had. Oh my god, like I totally need to get some more. That it actually instills you with good feelings rather than the negative and the paranoid and the angry and all that stuff. If you accept the possibility that crystals can store energy and can store emotions and you can use them for healing, then you would, in a sense, have to accept that meth is a crystal meth, and it would have the same effect. If a crystal is a crystal is a crystal, and one can store energy, the meth can store energy, and in a sense, this guy's correct. I think if you accepted the possibility of everything that I said, that a crystal is a crystal is a crystal, and you can charge crystals with healing energy, and then you can inject those crystals into you constantly, and you are constantly charging your crystals and constantly injecting them into you in some sort of weird way, if you believed all of that. So I do believe you can charge crystals, and I do believe you can charge items. I think it's more of a mental thing, though. I don't think they actually have any sort of power. You can have your favorite teddy bear, but that teddy bear doesn't actually have any real power. You just have a good emotional attachment to it. However, there are people who do believe that you charge things with positive or negative energy, and then it is spiritually charged or emotionally charged. It's just not something mental, but it's something that you can then charge a crystal and give it to someone else, and then they will feel that charge and that healing energy. If you accept that, you accept that a crystal is a crystal is a crystal, if you accept that crystals can be charged with positive or negative energy, if you believe that that energy is not just a mental trick, but it is actually a metaphysical energy you are charging with that, if you injected that healing, light, metaphysical, supernatural energy into your body or smoked it and did it over and over again and only did meth that was charged by positive people all the way down, you could, if you believe that, in theory, live forever. Because you're getting that healing energy into your body. Do I believe that? Absolutely not. That's meth immortality for you. You charge the crystals positively, but you have to do it the whole chain down. No one can ever touch it who has any negative thoughts. It has to be pure and holy and healing all the way down. And then instead of getting the healing power from putting the chakra under your pillow or in your pocket or on your chest or whatever, you smoke it or inject it in your bloodstream, you're getting 100% pure, uncut, healing metaphysical energy. I don't believe it. I think meth is incredibly harmful, and I would never do it. And I hope no one ever does it again. And if it disappeared from the planet Earth, I would be happy. So that's meth immortality for you. It's on the iceberg list. I got to cover it. It was interesting to look up. I was just like, man, I hope no one listens to this who's in recovery. And they're like, So I apologize for that. It's a struggle to get off of drugs. So that wasn't my intention. And again, it's not real unless you believe it. Unless you believe in all that healing crystal stuff, then it has to be real, I guess. But again, don't do it. I've lost a lot of friends to it. I'd hate to lose a listener. And you guys are my friends too. I'd hate to lose another friend to it as well. So just stay strong. If you're on the path, if you're thinking about doing, don't do it. It's not worth it. And if you're currently using, stop. Do your best. Get into recovery. We're all here for you. We're all here to help you recover. That was a clip from our daily podcast, Dead Rabbit Radio. Dead Rabbit Radio is available anywhere that you listen to podcasts. It's daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime news. If you want to hear the full episode that this clip came from, check the link below. Please like and subscribe. And hit that little bell, too. That does some magical stuff. Thanks, guys.